our special guest on Round the Horn is Wayne Oliveri, lead singer of the Jersey band called the New Bardots. Hello, Wayne. How are you?
Hey Lee, how are you doing, buddy?
We're doing okay, despite the pandemic.
Getting ready for the snow in a couple days too?
I hope not. I think down in South Jersey we may get rain, but I got the snow blower working and the shovels and the brooms are all out, ready to go.
I know. I got my back brace already.
So Wayne, let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been doing this for probably as long as you've been doing that. Been playing in a band since I can remember in 8th, 7th, 8th grade, and made the move. It's funny, Lee, because music in my mind and baseball have a lot in common, because you start out in the little leagues and you make your way up. And just like in music, when I met you back in the late 70s, early 80s, people don't know in New Jersey, there was a scene in New Jersey, folks, that was kind of like AAA baseball. There was so many teams and there was so many great talent. So we were, so I was playing in the band my whole life. And when I met you, we had a band called the Rock Kids, and we were around the late 70s. Everybody was working. We were working 6 nights a week at that point, and all these clubs were all over the place. And I kind of looked at it like the minor leagues of rock and roll. That was where you learned. You had a full-fledged rock unit. You're in big stages. You got a big crowd in front of you, and you try to make it to the show. You try to get that record deal. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So I've been in the minor leagues for a long time. I made it to the show for a little bit here and there. I had a record contract with Warner Brothers Records in early 80s. It was a demo contract, and I had the experience of being with some of the big boys around town, like Bon Jovi, especially. I did a lot of work with him, so I kind of knew what it was like to be in the show and been on stage with those guys and stuff. So I've been doing it a long time. I got a band called the New Bardots now. It's an all original band. We have a couple records out, which thank you for supporting us on your radio show. Appreciate that. We're doing very well in Europe right now. We got a record company in Italy, ICM Records, and they're doing real well with us. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we were scheduled to do a tour this past summer, and it never came about. And we're hoping we can get back on it if anything opens up for next year. We'll be doing that. But the New Bardots is an original band with Gar Francis from the Doughboys, the ex-Doughboys, and we got John Crude on keyboards, Dan Sky on bass, Johnny Rago on drums, and it's a great rock and roll band. And I'm gonna rock till I drop, brother. Just gonna keep on doing it, Gonna go down. I'm going down singing. Like going down swinging. I'm going down singing.
And swinging too.
Yeah.
We always say that good music deserves to be played. So that's why we kind of support bands like yourself and others throughout New Jersey who have put out some great music in the past years, going all the way back to the late 70s, early 80s, through the 90s, etc. So that's our purpose for Radio Jersey, our other project. So let's get into some baseball now. Did you play as a little leaguer?
Yeah, I did. I played ball since I can remember. My father got me into baseball. It's a funny story. My first little league team, I don't even remember how old you are in little league, but I remember it was little league minor. It was the lowest of the low. It wasn't Pee Wee. It was pitch, catch, and hit and run. Back in the day, well, I don't know how old you were, about the same age bracket, right? So when we were kids, there was no safety measures back then too much. It was just like the team had no catcher. And I had a fear of the ball. And my father purposely went to the coach and said, put him in the catcher. And I was like, what? Next thing I know, I'm like this, and the ball's coming, and I caught a couple and my hands were killing me. So I was the catcher for our little league team for that 2 seasons. And I continued with Little League all the way through. I switched from catcher to second base. And I played Little League. I played Little League Minor, Little League Major. And then when I got to, I think it was like ninth grade, I played on the high school freshman team as a backup second baseman. And then I didn't make the team. I wasn't that good. I was very good at defense, but I was not a good hitter. I couldn't hit a curveball to save my life, and I was a little afraid of the ball. So at the plate, I wasn't a good hitter. I was a very good defenseman. But then I played what we called it. I don't know if you had it where you were. It was called Pony League back then. It was like for 15-year-olds. There's Pony Major, Pony Minor, Pony Major. Pony Major was 16, 17-year-old and 18. And I played Pony Major. Funny story. In my Pony Major years, I was a backup second baseman throughout my whole career. It was a championship game. We were on the Yankees. I remember we called it the Yankees. I was 16 years old. It was the ninth inning. It was bases loaded, 2 outs, and I'm coming up the bat. So I don't know if you folks out there have ever been in that position, but let me tell you, it sucked.
That's for sure.
My parents are in. Everybody we knew was a championship game. Long story short, I know we got a lot of time. Long story short, first pitch comes, swing and a miss. Second pitch comes, swing and a miss. Third pitch, ball. Fourth pitch, almost hits me. I mean, no, I'm sorry. It was ball. It was 3 balls. And 1 strike. 2 balls. I'm sorry, 2 balls, 1 strike. The ball came at me. I just dove into the ground and missed me that much. Next swing, strike. Next swing, strike 3. You're out. Game over. We lose. Okay. I'm walking out. My father's coming back at me. I'm thinking he's going to put his arm around me and say, "Don't worry about it," that kind of thing. You know what he does? He smacks me in the back of the head and goes, "Why didn't you let it hit you? You could have tied the game. You could have."
For the team.
What? It's like, yeah, I was like, I'll never forget that as long as I live. He smacked me in the back of the head and screamed at me. Why did you duck? You should have let it hit you. But so anyway, I played Pony Major till I was, I think, 17, and then I went into umpiring. I umpired Little League for a long time. Then I made my way for past, I think, 3 years after that. I was about 21. I actually umpired Pony Minor and Pony Major behind the plate and on the bases. So I love baseball. I'm not that good at it, and I'm not. Another thing is I find it hard to keep track of the teams. I don't know if you're like way into it, and your background is way more than experience than mine. But it's hard for me to keep up with the teams. Back in the day when we were kids, it seemed to me, and maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, but back in the day when we were kids, didn't it seem like the players stayed on the teams longer?
Yeah, they did. Absolutely. Sure. And then we followed them, I think, a little more religiously, especially if you were someone that collected cards. And we didn't get to see that much as far as TV is concerned because we were kind of limited. But I don't know about you, but I was someone who grabbed the newspaper as soon as it came to the door, looked at the box scores. So you got to see, who did what the night before, and if you didn't get a chance to see the game. But I think we were a little bit more avid. But these days, there's so many teams. There's 30 teams now. So, back then we only had maybe 20 at the most. So
yeah,
I think we still follow them pretty closely today. I think there's more ways to follow a team, especially now that we've got more TV, we've got radio, we've got anything online, and there's so many people that are writing about, sports and baseball in particular.
I remember, speaking of baseball cards, I don't know if you remember, I used to have a stack of cards, and during recess in grammar school, St. Mary's, I remember in the playground, we would flip cards.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
You flip them, and then you have these big pile because nobody. I don't know if you people out there, folks out there looking. If the card landed on another card, then you would win the whole pile.
Right.
So we used to have these huge piles and nobody would get it. And finally, you win a stack about this big.
Right.
Turns out my mother threw all my cards out when I moved out like years ago. I go, Mom, my baseball cards. I had Mickey Mantle cards. I had Roger Maris cards. She threw them all out. I was like, I don't believe it.
Likewise. I still carry some of the cards, and I've been to some antique places that have got collections of baseball cards. So right now in front of me, I've got my Carl Yastrzemski card.
No way.
We liked him because he was Polish. And then I have the rookie card for Roger Clemens.
Holy crap. That'd
And
buy a new car, wouldn't it?
others, and I just, I wanted to make sure that I had them before they were all gone.
Yeah.
I do collect, and one of the things I do have, and I found this in it's sort of an inadvertent collection because I see some stuff and I get it, Here's Aaron Boone.
Wow.
As a Cincinnati Reds outfit.
Oh, that's a red. Yeah, it's a red. That is so cool. What year is that?
Oh, let's see. He was 1998. It was.
Wow.
But anyway, we just happen to love baseball. That's what it is,
Yeah, well, I think I think back when we were kids too. I don't want to say it, but that was honestly my best baseball memories is when I was a kid, when we used to just put games together. I mean, we would, on a Saturday, we would call up, hey, we're doing a game, and we would all drive our bikes down to Cedarbrook Park over in Plainfield, and there would be like 20 or 30 kids,
Right.
I mean, like just all gathered together, and we would pick teams and we'd play baseball, and we used to do that every single weekend or during the summer so many times. Like, remember nowadays, you fly in an airplane, you look down at the baseball fields, and they all seem to be empty all the time. Mm-hmm. But, if you don't mind me saying, I was watching one of your shows with, I can't remember his name now, I just went blank. But he was talking about the pitchers nowadays and how they hurt a lot of injuries with the pitching.
Okay.
And I remember thinking to myself, Mark Swirsky. I think it was a show with Mark. He was mentioning that. And I remember thinking to myself, I wanted to mention this to you too and get your opinion. All these injuries that come with the pitching especially, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong or maybe you have an opinion on this, I think the main problem with that is being a father of a professional or competitive figure skater, okay? When these parents get involved with the baseball sport and their kids are pitching. Now, normally when we were kids, you played baseball when baseball season was over. That was it. You didn't play baseball. You went on to other things. Nowadays, it's a year-round thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
They don't stop. They don't stop. And these kids are young and they're in. I mean, I would attest to this because my daughter was going to these the test center in Martinsville, and they have an indoor field, and I'd see these little kids, 10, 11, 12 years old, 8, 9, 10, going year round, pitching, getting coached and getting private instructions. And I think that has a lot to do with when they become older, why their shoulders don't hold out like the old guys, because they didn't, as a young kid, I think they pitched too much.
Well, having instructors that know what they're talking about is really an advantage for a young pitcher. It's when they have coaches in the summers that don't really have a good background in instruction as well as coaching. Sometimes they're fathers that are just stuck there because their kid is playing or something like that. That's probably more of a problem than having the off-season instruction, although it's really great to be playing other sports because you use other muscles as opposed to, what you would use during baseball. I know when I was younger, I played football when it was cold. and when you couldn't, and in high school, it was basketball in the off season, which kind of helped your conditioning getting ready for baseball season.
Right.
So, and then finally they just told me, don't play football anymore because you're too valuable as a pitcher.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't want you to get hurt. In fact, I did last game of the last season as a freshman. Last play of the game, I broke my leg.
Oh, no. What position did you play in football?
I was a quarterback.
Oh, my God. Okay.
So it was actually, and an assistant coach had put me in, and the head coach is screaming, what are you doing out there? We're losing. And the other team jumped off sides, and like their whole team just collapsed on top of me. So anyway, that's a good thing. What about today's baseball? Who do you like these days?
I got to tell you, I'm a Met fan. I'm so sorry, but I'm a Met
You're
fan.
sitting pretty now these days, though. Now you got.
Well, Jared Porter just came on board as a general manager, so that should help, right?
Well, he was with us as a Cub for a while because he came over with Theo Epstein, and yeah, it should be a good one. You've got Sandy Alderson, who really is tremendously respected in the game. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, considering the last season, I think we like, I don't know, like 26 and 34 in fourth place. They played what, 60 games this year?
Yeah, 60 games.
But I mean, they're only 9 games out of first place, so.
Well, they missed the playoffs, I think, by a couple of games, so it wasn't that bad. Although it was tough for some people to, get running. I mean, there are some times when in this 164 game season that a team didn't really start sparking until the 80th game.
Right. Yeah.
Or after the All-Star break.
Well, what happens with the Mets a lot of times, especially in the past, say, 5 to 6 years, they start out pretty good. Sometimes they start out like gangbusters and then they just lose steam. Right. For some reason, and they get injured. I mean, the Mets, oh my God, their injuries. Talk about injuries. It seems that it plagues them like every year for some reason. But
sure, absolutely.
It's now. Let me ask you a question about. I didn't realize they made up some new rules for the short season this year.
Right.
Are those rules going? Do you know if those rules are going to like the 3-batter rule? Does anybody know about the 3-batter rule with the pitching?
Nothing has been decided as far as the DH or those new rules that came in. So I guess they wanted to analyze what was going to happen. And free agency is really kind of thrown a little wrench into it because, some guys are only DHs and some guys really, they benefited from having the DH in the National League last year.
Yeah.
But that hasn't been decided yet. So I guess everybody's playing it by ear with the pandemic to see if the vaccines are going to work and maybe we can get in a full season.
Yeah. Well, now the 3-batter rule was for bringing in a reliever, right? They'd have to face at least 3 batters or finish the inning.
Had to face at least 3 batters, and I think that might be the one that goes by the wayside because it was kind of a ridiculous rule.
But you know what the funny rule was this year? Did you know they had a no spitting rule because of the virus? I sort of.
I don't think anybody policed that at all.
It's in the books.
I know it's in the books, but
no spitting, no tobacco, no seeds, whatever it was, or no spitting of any kind.
Well, I could see the seeds, and although I did see a couple of people having tobacco, and you can't help but spit tobacco.
I know.
I don't know if you've ever tried it yourself, but you got to spit it out. If you don't, you get sick. And
yeah.
It's kind of a weird situation.
What about the rule on I think it was the extra inning rule where they put a man on second base just that they're trying to get the games done quicker? Do you think that rule's going to stay?
I don't think it really worked. I don't think anybody really liked that at all. I mean, that was something that was tried in the World Baseball competition. And they had tried that also in some of the independent leagues. So they kind of get some of those ideas from other places, but I don't think that one worked too well.
I got you. Well, I'm a Met guy. My father grew up, we grew up with the Yankees. When the Mets came in, 1962, I think the Mets came on board?
Right, yeah. My
mother loved the Mets. So she and my father were like head to head. And my dad, I can remember, we're going backwards, but my dad took us, I wanted to get this in. My father took us to a Yankee game when I was like 8 or 9. I forget. I think it was 1968. And I actually saw Mickey Mantle hit his last home run at home.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I saw him hit it, and they were playing the Red Sox, and they ended up losing the game 4-3. Wow. But I'll never forget it. First time we grew up we didn't have a lot of money, so I don't know how my father got the tickets, but it was the only game we ever went to, and I ended up seeing Mickey Mantle hit a home run, so that was worth it.
That's an amazing story. Yeah,
it's cool.
Wayne, we're running out of time, unfortunately. We've had a great time talking and catching up, so I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us.
Okay, next time we talk, I got to tell you my my Keith Hernandez story.
All right. Okay. Next time we'll do it again.
Lee, thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun. Please have me back again. I got I'd love to talk. And by the way, great. You have a great career in doing what you did in baseball. We could talk about that too. So people should know where you're coming from. You're quite the man.
Our thanks to Wayne Oliveri from the New Jersey band called the New Bardots with a brand new album out. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you all next week. Good night.